Now that there are no more elections until 2018, some Republicans are starting to change their tune on repealing Obamacare. Now, this is according to a report in The Hill. Some key Republican lawmakers are shifting their goal on the Affordable Care Act from repealing and replacing the law to a more modest goal of repairing it. Now, that's pretty interesting, right? Because, I and a lot of other progressives have been saying, yes, let's fix the flaws inherent in a for-profit healthcare model. Okay, let's fix it. So I'm in favor of that. Don't get rid of it. Make it better because it's a decent foundation that you can build on. Okay, great. Now, look, we'll have to see which way they go, if they go at all. And I'm going to get to that later. Now, according to Chairman Greg Walden of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, he says, quote, "I'm trying to be accurate on this because there are some provisions in the law that probably will stay, or we may modify them, but we're going to fix things. We're going to repair things," he told reporters on Tuesday. There are things we can build on and repair. There are things we can completely repeal. Okay, well, as pointed out, one of the things that they desperately want to repeal are some of the taxes on the wealthiest Americans that are actually used to help regular people afford their insurance premiums. This money actually goes to pay for subsidies for people who, need them to pay for their insurance premiums. Now, these taxes, as I said, are on very, very wealthy people, and it turns out that Republican donors are those wealthy people, and they despise those taxes. Now, how much? You have about the top 400 wealthiest households in America that pay the majority of this tax. Now, if those taxes are repealed, these households, 400 households, will save an average of $7 million a year. Jesus Christ. Now, that's a lot of money. Now, some of you might think, oh, great. Yes. Yeah, get rid of the taxes on rich people. Okay, well, if you're receiving subsidies through the ACA, oops, that money's likely gone, or, well, it would likely come out of your pocket. Now, first, let's get to some more quotes about this because, hey, some of these are fun. Now, let's see. This is Lamar Alexander. So Lamar Alexander said, quote, "I think it is more accurate to say repair Obamacare because, for example, in the reconciliation procedure that we have in the Senate, we can't repeal all of Obamacare. Obamacare wasn't passed by reconciliation. It can't be repealed by reconciliation, so we can repair the individual market, which is a good place to start." Now, of course, again, we've got to see what kind of repair they're talking about, what they're planning. Now, hopefully, their version of repair is not like when you take your car to, for example, the shop to get it repaired, and it comes out with other more expensive problems. Oh, sorry, I took it in for an oil change, and now, I need a new water pump. Well, holy crap, how did that happen? I don't know. It just happened to have burst. Couldn't do anything about it. So that's the scenario that we're trying to avoid. Basically bringing it in, repairing it, by them, of course, repealing certain things, and breaking the entire law. So where's this coming from, right? This sudden desire to say, oh, right, we actually have to do something about this since now we actually got elected. Well, it turns out they didn't really think that they were going to get handed the reins of power. That is my honest assessment. I didn't think that they thought that they were going to win. Maybe the House, but not the presidency. And now they're like, holy crap, Trump actually won. We have the reins of power. What do we do? Well, we're going to start looting the place for one, but we actually do want to get reelected. So we might not want to completely destroy the ACA because it actually was our plan to begin with. So, and I've got proof of that. This disarray, this thing that's going on in the Republican Party, this discussion about what do they do about their own plan. And this is from a secret recording that came out last week that shows these different Republicans having a conversation on the ramifications of the Obamacare repeal. Now, the first part goes back to who pays for this law. See, some Republicans are suggesting that once they get rid of the taxes on the rich, well, they actually have to try to raise money from somewhere for the subsidies, right? Well, some Republicans are saying, I know, let's just tax the middle class. Let's put a new middle class tax so we can pay for parts of this healthcare law. Now, right now, the way that it works is that you have employer-sponsored plans through work that are tax exempt. They're tax free. Republicans, some of them want to change that so that they do tax those plans. Now, when presented with the idea, Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy said, quote, "It sounds like we are going to be raising taxes on the middle class in order to pay for these new credits." Yeah, exactly. Now, that is something that they would not want you to hear. Because, no, we care about the middle class. We want to lower taxes. Well, when they say they want to lower taxes, they don't want to lower taxes on you. They want to lower taxes on their donors. So, and it turns out that when you get rid of taxes on the rich when it comes to healthcare, you end up having to raise that money somewhere in order to keep these programs working. And of course, it's going to come from the middle class. It's going to come from you guys. Now, yeah, I have another quote here. And this is Representative Tom McClintock from California. Now, he warned Republicans that if they come up with a crappy replacement plan, that, well, it's kind of on them and it's going to hurt them later on in the elections. He says, quote, "We better be prepared, or we better make sure that we're prepared to live with the market that we've created. That's going to be called Trump Care. Republicans will own that lock, stock, and barrel, and will be judged in the election less than 2 years away." Now, again, it is pretty funny how they didn't think about this when they were all shouting death panels at the top of their lungs. They didn't think about it. And then the truth is, of course, we all know it was their health care plan to begin with. Okay, this is the right-wing free market healthcare plan. Didn't really have anywhere else to go that actually might work. So, I mean, they should already own this, but since President Obama said, hey, you know what, that plan, that's actually not a great, that's not a bad plan. I'm going to take that, and we're going to call it Obamacare. Uh-oh. They had nowhere else to go. Now, the final quote here is from Republican Tom MacArthur. Now, he said, "We're telling those people that we're not going to pull the rug out from under them, and if we do this too fast, we are, in fact, going to pull the rug out from under them." Now, again, that's not from, oh, I care about my constituents. It's, I really want to get reelected, and if I screw them over, no, they're not going to vote for me again. So, look, these quotes kind of explain why some of these Republicans are looking at repeal and replace and saying, ooh, guys, I don't know about that. Not so fast. Not so fast. Now, again, I got to point to a lot of it is politics. Since people have finally realized the ACA and Obamacare are actually one and the same. And they realize that, they're like, oh, shit. I actually like the ACA. You're telling me this is the same law? But you were telling me all the horrible things about Obamacare. Well, I actually like my ACA. Oh, that's crazy. So don't take it away. Don't take my health care. I mean, you've got Trump supporters saying, hey, I voted for you, but I kind of need the ACA to survive. I didn't think you were going to actually try to get rid of it. No, I need this. Don't take it away. I thought it was just talk. Well, I got to ask those people, hey, do you think the other stuff that he said was actually talk? Like banning the Muslims, building a wall that we don't actually need? Or what about the enormous tax cuts for the rich? Do you think those were fake too? I don't know. Maybe you were in favor of some of that. Well, okay. But normally when a Republican said, I'm going to take something away from the working and middle class so that I can cut taxes for the rich, believe them. Believe them. Because they're being honest. Now, of course, there are Republicans that, not all Republicans think this way. Okay? There's still a lot of Republicans there that still want to repeal and replace because they don't care about you at all. In fact, you have Representative Raul Labrador from Idaho saying, quote, I'm hearing there are a lot of members that say they want Obamacare light. That's not what we promised the American people, or more importantly, our donors. So you also have House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Kevin Brady of Texas said he thinks that the goal of fully repealing Obamacare is still doable, which, no, it's actually not. You also have Senate Finance Committee Chairman Orrin Hatch saying we need to repeal Obamacare immediately and then provide a transition to a brand new system. So, of course, there is a lot of dissension in the ranks when it comes to what do we do with the ACA. Now, again, I got to point out, they had 8 years to figure it out, and they still hadn't figured it out. Amazing. Now, as far as some of the statements on, we can still repeal Obamacare. No, actually, you can't. You see, if they try, the Democrats, they're going to filibuster. And earlier in the article, it did mention that reconciliation can't repeal all of it. It can only repeal parts of it. And look, some of the parts that they have are actually very popular. So what are they going to get rid of and actually still have it work? I mean, for example, some of the popular stuff in this law is keeping your kid in your insurance until you're 26. No lifetime limits on coverage or caps. No ban on pre-existing conditions. People like that stuff. What they do hate is the individual mandate. But of course, that mandate ends up paying for the other stuff that they actually like. And if you can't afford it, which a lot of people cannot, there are exemptions for hardship. And there's a lot of people that actually don't know that. And of course, the law, I know, it's not perfect. I mean, I've mentioned before that there are some plans that have deductibles so high that you can't even use your insurance. So you're essentially having to pay for something that you don't use or you don't need. That's ridiculous. And you have the issue of premiums continuing to rise. Subsidies, yes, will rise too to match that. But so while people on those plans might not pay more, the cost for insurance overall will continue to go up because there's few to no cost controls on health insurance. I'd like for them to actually fix those problems, although I think the Republicans aren't interested at all in doing so, so I think it's rather unlikely. Now, what I also think we need to do is to have a public option. I believe that we should have people choose to buy into Medicare if they want. Now, I think that actually save a lot of money. There are a lot of studies that say that it would save a lot of money because Medicare just happens to be far more efficient than for-profit healthcare. And it's because of the way that it's set up. There's no advertising fees, no profit margin, no shareholders they have to please. So there you go. It's just cheaper and more efficient because there's actually less bureaucracy and a less of a focus on, there's no profit margin focus when it comes to Medicare. So again, that makes it cheaper, not only for the government, but it makes it cheaper for you. Now, of course, if you try to do something like that, health insurance companies are just screaming bloody murder because they simply could not compete with a government option because, again, it's far, far less efficient than Medicare. I mean, these companies, they don't use all your money that in premiums for profit. Some of that goes right into advertising fees, goes to the board, and it goes into the CEO's pocket. Not to your health care. Now, again, let's go to the final thing, actually. And that's what they're trying to figure out what to do with Medicaid. Now, you've got Senator John Hoeven, who state accepted the Medicaid expansion, said he wants to keep Medicaid while providing more flexibility to the states to make changes to the rules of the program, which is, of course, a common Republican thing. So that makes me think of block grants, of course, which block grants end up hurting the program, but cutting off a lot of the poor people in the states. So, you want to keep it, but you want to change the rules so they can essentially do what they want with the money and end up cutting off a lot of people. Well, how magnanimous of you, Mr. Hoeven. But still, there are some Republicans that are at least trying to have a conversation about this. I mean, you have Senator Ron Johnson out there that says that he wants to work with Democrats to fix Obamacare. He said, quote, "It is way more complex than simply repeal and replace. That's a fun little buzzword, but it's not just, it's just not accurate." Now, again, I have to say that your party ran on repeal and replace for 8 years. You essentially lied to the American people every time you said that little buzzword. You're actually telling people, this is the policy that I want to do. Oh, looks like, nope, I was lying. Well, great. Thanks. And now you want to call it just a buzzword and then actually offer to fix the law. Where were you for the last 8 years? When Democrats were more than willing to actually work with you guys And that's what one of the fatal flaws of the Democrats is that they're too willing to reach out to the other side to try to fix this law. Where were you guys? Where were you? And speaking of the Democrats, I'm going to throw some more shade on the Democrats. And you have people like Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi out there who are not helping the ACA by saying, no, it's absolutely perfect the way it is. No, it is not. It actually can be changed. It can be changed for the better. It can be improved. It can be built upon so it actually does work for all of the American people. And you could do that if you actually want to. You can go out there and say, no, it's completely perfect. We don't have to do anything. A lot of people will look at that, right and left, and go, are you out of your fucking mind? Of course there's ways that we can fix this. Of course. Let's actually try to do so. And look, I want to go out there and fix it. Because I do believe that people have a right to health care. I do believe it's part of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think that if you can't have a good life or pursue happiness, then, well, look, you can't have that if you don't have a way to keep yourself healthy and productive. You can't be happy. You can't have life if you don't have some sort of health care. If you can't go to a doctor. If you can't get treated. If you can't get preventative care. You can't pursue happiness, can you? No. So yes, let's fix the ACA. Let's hear out Republican ideas, sure, and implement policy based on merits. Does it work? Does it not work? If it's good policy, great, we'll work it out. If it's not good policy, then I'm going to call it out. I'm going to examine it. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see those proposals as I've been doing before, like with health savings accounts and tax credits. And we're going to look at the impact on the poorest, most vulnerable people in America. And we're going to see whether or not it works for people. That's what I'm going to do. And I expect all other media outlets, if they have any shred of journalistic integrity and a willingness to do their job, to do the same. Because this is important stuff. This is policy. And we need to focus on working on policy that works for everybody and not just a few. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.